So much for joining us. My name is Faith Nyaude. A quick look at stories that are making the headlines tonight. President Mnangagwa has returned home after attending the World Summit for Development held in Doha, Qatar, where global leaders convened to deliberate on strategies for inclusive growth and sustainable development. Vice President Dr. Constantino Chiwenga expressed optimism on the ongoing construction of the Gwai-Shangani Dam, highlighting its pivotal role in driving economic development. Over 600 police officers have donned their caps and gowns, marking a new chapter in their service to the nation. Highlanders will this weekend face Manica Diamonds in the penultimate round of the 2025 PSL season with little margin for error. Our top story this evening, President Mnangagwa has returned home after attending the World Summit for Development held in Doha, Qatar, where global leaders convened to deliberate on strategies for inclusive growth and sustainable development. Now, on arrival at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport, the president was received by Vice President retired Colonel Kembo Mahadi, senior service chiefs and senior government officials. Now, addressing the media soon after the president's arrival, Foreign Affairs and International Trade Minister Professor Amon Murira said that the president highlighted Zimbabwe's progress in reducing poverty, expanding access to education and health care, and strengthening social protection systems, underscoring the nation's commitment to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and Vision 2030.
As you know, according to the Constitution, Zimbabwe is bound to make sure that it belongs to organizations that promote human development and peace, which is the United Nations, basically. And His Excellency the President was able to give Zimbabwe's story on how Zimbabwe has halved the number of people who are considered poor. And this kind of movement was emphasized by His Excellency to the extent that now we are focusing at 30% of the population after having lifted within very few years the other 30% from poverty. So Zimbabwe has been doing very well in this regard. You know, His Excellency has championed security, food security at household level. Has championed social protection through BEAM, Basic Education Assistance Module, as well as food distribution. But the most importantly, His Excellency the President, under his leadership in the Second Republic, has focused on the household as the unit of development. And this is social development, by the way, because in a nation, we look at economic activity that enhances social development. And social development talks about national cohesion. This is where the nation is knitted at household level.
Now, we know President Mnangagwa is tomorrow expected to join other leaders in the Southern African Development Community for a virtual extraordinary Heads of State and Government Summit to deliberate on the unexpected withdrawal of Madagascar from its annual rotating chairmanship. Foreign Affairs Minister Professor Amon Murira confirmed President Mnangagwa's participation, saying the summit will also touch on the situation in the DRC as well as other pressing issues in the region.
The summit tomorrow is going to be in SADC summit. It's going to be held virtually, and His Excellency the President is going to represent Zimbabwe in that summit. And you know, Zimbabwe is part of the Troika, and the summit is mainly to talk about the situation in the SADC region, particularly the situation in the Eastern DRC and situation in the Republic of Madagascar. So His Excellency the President and his counterparts are going to discuss these matters tomorrow, and the outcomes of these matters will then be communicated through the usual channels of the SADC Secretariat communique. But what is very important is that the senior officials have already started meeting. The Council of Ministers is going to meet tomorrow, in preparation for their excellencies to meet in the afternoon tomorrow virtually to discuss these items that I've talked about, the issue of peace and security in the SADC region, particularly focusing on the situation in Madagascar and the situation in the Eastern DRC.
Now, in other news, Vice President Dr. Constantino Chiwenga expressed optimism on the ongoing construction of the Gwai-Shangani Dam, highlighting its pivotal role in driving economic development. During a visit to the dam as part of a broader tour of economic projects in Matabeleland North, he confirmed the project was on track for completion next year, in line with government timelines. He elaborated that the dam will support agro-processing zones, manufacturing hubs, and energy-linked industries.
Taona damu kufamba kwariri kuita kuvakwa kwariri kuitwa vanoda kuti vapedze kusvika mwedzi wambudzi November gore rinouya vanenge vachida kuti pange pachiiswa mari yacho yavanoda kuti vange vachiita mamita maviri pamwedzi. So isu tiri kuti kana vachikwanisa kusvika pamamita anokwana kuita mana, takunotaura nevamwe vedu kuHarare, Minister of Finance, nekutaura nemukuru wenyika kuti ngatiitei chimbi zvinhu zvipere, tikwanise kuti mvura iende kuBulawayo.
Vice President Chiwenga also toured the construction site of Lupane Provincial Hospital. After the tour, he expressed the need to address the prolonged delays in the project's completion. He urged those in charge of the project to segment the construction into phases. Now, this would allow some sections to be completed and start functioning, providing healthcare services to the province while construction continues on the remaining areas.
And we say, let's complete the outpatient as an example. But then we complete it. It is opened and it starts working. Whilst the construction of other departments is still going on. And if we say then, no, the next is to deal with our mothers, the maternity, then we deal with that and we complete it.
Now, the pre-budget seminar is still ongoing. Day 2 of the seminar in Bulawayo highlighted higher and tertiary education as a key pillar to Zimbabwe's economic transformation agenda. Delegates focused on the urgent need to strengthen collaboration between universities and the private sector. Now, while Zimbabwe continues to produce a high number of graduates each year, many enter an economy unable to absorb them, contributing to persistent unemployment. The government says that linking education to industry is critical in building a vibrant job market, accelerating innovation, and driving industrial growth, all priorities that will be reflected in the 2026 national budget. Zimbabwe Education 5.0 prioritizes transforming students from job seekers into entrepreneurs, driving industrialization and solving national problems. Higher and Tertiary Education Ministry says so far efforts have been made, but called for increased funding to expand innovation hubs and strengthen Zimbabwe's human capital base to unlock the curriculum's full value.
We uphold the call by our Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Higher and Tertiary Education to strongly recommend increased funding to the Ministry to consolidate gains, accelerate lagging projects.
Some universities in Zimbabwe have been increasing tuition fees annually, citing rising operational costs and the need to fund research. However, Treasury wants these universities to provide a clear breakdown of how these fees are being used.
Now, against the proposal, the Minister of Higher Education could tell Treasury how much they are raising from university fees for students. We see the request for grants, but there's opaqueness on the use of university fees. All we see is variable, every year they're paying more and more for university.
The gap between the job market and graduates being churned annually is widening. Parliament noted that collaboration between industry and tertiary institutions could cover the gap.
a missed opportunity in linking academic research with production. This, lawmakers hope, will reduce over-reliance on the national fiscus.
Are they linking the various sectors of infrastructure development in the private sector? So that as they finish, they are employable there. Or as they finish, they can create employment. The collaboration is very weak, Honorable Minister of Finance. It's very weak.
Lawmakers also raised concern over the migration of skilled graduates, calling for deliberate policies that promote local industry growth to retain talent and boost productivity.
Create viable industries that will be able to consume our graduates so that they work for the country and give back to the country that finances their education. Otherwise, tingaita sekunge tirukuda kuvadzivirira kuti aiwa musaende havasi kutodawo kuenda, but isusu wacho let's come up with solutions that keeps them in here varambe vachishandira nyika vaita basa.
Thank you so much, Honorable.
As government prepares the 2026 national budget, the message from Bulawayo is clear. Education and industry must move in tandem. Building a knowledge-driven economy, linking skills to enterprise, and ensuring that every innovation translates into national growth.
Over 600 police officers have donned their caps and gowns, marking a new chapter in their service to the nation. The 2025 Police Staff College graduation ceremony has spotlighted a growing culture of professionalism and academic excellence within the Zimbabwe Republic Police. Eben Mabunda has more.
Now, the Deputy Commissioner General of the Zimbabwe Republic Police, Emi Ngirandi, presided over the 2025 graduation ceremony of the Police Staff College at the Mukushi Police Academy. It was a day of pride, honor and achievement as 622 officers graduated, ready to serve the nation with renewed skill and discipline. The vibrant ceremony, filled with pomp and color, reflected the Zimbabwe Republic Police commitment to professionalism, integrity and excellence in service delivery. Deputy Commissioner General Ngirandi, standing in for Police Commissioner General Stephen Mutamba, underscored that the continuous upskilling of officers was not just a formality, but a cornerstone in building a disciplined, accountable and community-centered police force.
The Zimbabwe Republic Police is undergoing a profound metamorphosis, a digital transformation. However, this is not about replacing the human heart of policing with a cold silicon chip. It is about giving that heart a stronger beat.
The graduation, the 42nd since the college's establishment, was held under the theme Excellence in Policing. Principal Police Staff College Commissioner Edward Chuma said the institution's curriculum continues to evolve in line with global policing trends.
Equally, at international level, the college is a distinguished member of the International Association of Police Academies, which comprises of 80 institutions from 63 countries. Equally, this year, the college was accepted as a member of the Interpol Global Virtual Academy, which comprises of 12 countries in the world.
Commissioner Chuma added that the qualifications offered are multidisciplinary, covering areas such as law, commerce, traffic management, cybersecurity, and community education, spanning from certificate to degree level. University of Zimbabwe Vice-Chancellor Professor Paul Mapfumo, who graced the graduation, commended the collaboration between the institution and the Police Staff College, saying it demonstrates Zimbabwe's drive towards innovation and professional excellence under the heritage-based 5.0 model.
It is only a visionary leader who prioritizes education as the bedrock of operational excellence. Commissioner General
Your commitment is not only shaping the future of policing in Zimbabwe, but also cementing the role of the Zimbabwe Republic Police as a guarantor of peace, order and security in the country and across the globe. In this regard, I therefore implore today's graduates to embrace technology and innovation.
As the police band played patriotic melodies and families beamed with pride, the 2025 Police Staff College graduation stood as a celebration of service, scholarship, and national duty, affirming the Zimbabwe Republic Police's commitment to excellence, community, and trust. Iben Mabunda for ZTN Prime in Harare.
Oh, you are still watching Newsplus. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
Join the 2025 National Tariff and Competition Conference hosted by the Competition and Tariff Commission, happening on November the 13th and 14th at Cresta Lodge and Sango Conference Center, Harare, under the theme Fair Markets, Strategic Tariffs, Driving Innovation, Investment and Regional Competitiveness, featuring industry leaders including Honorable Ngobezi Tandlovo, who will be the guest of honor, Dr. Willard Mwemba, and other top experts in trade and competition. Contact us via WhatsApp on 0711 459 595 to register now.
Good evening and welcome to the greatest show on earth. This is a people's game. They will be bubbling about this one for weeks and months to come. Let's go! Lights, camera, action. Put your mind on it, live the life that you
Wherever you are, whatever your reason, it's on SuperSport all season long. Reconnect and stay connected to DSTV Compact and get the best football.
The Parliament of Zimbabwe will be hosting the pre-budget seminar in Bulawayo at the ZITF grounds from the 5th to the 8th of November 2025, running under the theme Enhancing Drivers of Economic Growth and Transformation towards Vision 2030. The public is advised to follow the proceedings through our Parliament social media handles, Facebook, X and Instagram. Parliament of Zimbabwe, a strong, independent, people-driven, world-class parliament. A ZWS 19001-2015 ISO certified organization.
Welcome back. You're still watching Newsplus. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, leader of the panel of eminent persons of the African peer review mechanism, Ambassador Ali El Hafni, has urged Zimbabwean media to challenge Western misrepresentations that have contributed to the country being unfairly viewed in a negative light. Ambassador El Hafni made the remarks while officially opening engagements with the media sector that's part of an ongoing assessment of Zimbabwe's economic governance. The meeting was attended by representatives of Zimbabwe's top media houses, including Zim Papers. Our reporter Sherman Jinjima has more details.
For years, Zimbabwe has been a victim of what many describe as a one-sided narrative, often shaped by Western media lenses that paint a bleak picture of the country. Leader of the panel of eminent persons under the African peer review mechanism, Ambassador Ali El Hafni of Egypt, says such portrayals are unjust and frequently inaccurate. He has urged the local media to challenge these misrepresentations by telling the good stories coming out of Zimbabwe.
Responsibility gets more important to face such wrong perception imposed upon and with a great deal of injustice imposed upon Zimbabwe as we have seen it the last few years.
As part of assessing Zimbabwe's economic governance, the African peer review mechanism team has been holding meetings with different sectors to gather their views on how the country is being governed. In its engagement with the media today, Ambassador Ali El Hafni highlighted the crucial role the press plays in bridging the gap between government and the public. Media representatives were asked about access to information from government, the narratives that dominate coverage of inflation, and whether the media operates freely. Ambassador Al Hafni also underscored the importance of factual and responsible reporting.
The media plays a vital role in this process as the bridge between the government and citizens. Through factual reporting, constructive analysis, and responsible journalism, the media promotes transparency and ensures that governance remains responsive to public needs.
The African Peer Review Mechanism was established in 2003 to monitor governance and democracy across the continent. The voluntary process was created to counter the harsh and often unfair judgments African countries faced from Western institutions. So far, 43 out of the African Union's 55 member states have undergone the review. Foreign Affairs Permanent Secretary Ambassador Albert Chimbindi says Zimbabwe's accession to the mechanism in 2020 shows its willingness to learn from others and to allow others to learn from it.
The idea is that when we acceded to this process, when the President acceded to this process in 2020, it's because we believe that Zimbabwe had something to share with other countries, but also Zimbabwe had something to learn from the other countries. So it is a mutually reinforcing, complementary process.
The African Peer Review team will continue its assessment across the country, engaging different sectors and communities. Once the process is complete, a draft report will be shared with the Zimbabwean authorities to allow government to respond to the findings. The final report will then be presented to the Forum of Heads of State and Government of African Peer Review Mechanism member countries. The exercise is expected to influence how Zimbabwe is perceived on the international stage and could shape future engagements with Africa and beyond. Shera Munjenjema for ZTN News in Harare.
Now, still talking about things to do with the media, Information Minister Dr. Jenfran Muswere says the government is setting the stage for a fully fledged creative industry capable of creating jobs, generating income, and promoting Zimbabwean culture on the global stage. Speaking during the ministry's strategic planning workshop in Vumba this Thursday, Dr. Muswere said the creative and cultural industries have the potential to become a major economic driver if adequately supported and modernized. He said the government, through collaboration with the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe, is working on developing local content that speaks to the country's heritage and promotes the use of national languages.
But as we discuss this important strategic planning workshop, the vision and mission of the ministry is to create a new, fully fledged creative industry based on arts and the film industry, on how best we can work together with the National Arts Council to be able to generate content that speaks to our values as a people in our local languages. But this new creative industry will create millions of people. We have already sent teams to Nigeria. The next batch of teams should be going to India, and the next team should be going to Hollywood. For this is a low-hanging fruit that can create jobs, generate income for our country, and also be able to transform the arts industry.
Speaking at the same event, Permanent Secretary Nick Mangwana said the minister is working on making sure that every Zimbabwean has access to information through its ongoing programs, which are expected to be implemented under the National Development Strategy 2 that's running from 2026 up until 2030. Now, speaking during the ministry's strategic workshop currently underway in Vumba, Permanent Secretary for Information Nick Mangwana said that the ministry is assessing its projects to determine their relevance to the National Development Strategy journey to establish effective two-way communication that's between the government and its citizens.
But we know that every project, every program, every effort that we've put in place is to ensure that no Zimbabwean remains uninformed of what's happening in the country. No Zimbabwean remains without access to information. No Zimbabwean remains without a way of speaking back to their government. Because as you know, part of our mandate speaks on having and establishing a two-way communication between government and its people. When we are talking of a two-way communication, we are not talking of a gadget. We are talking of a listening government. Meaning that the government will speak to the people will speak to the government.
Now, Transmedia Corporation Chief Executive Engineer Adonia Mshosho says Transmedia is committed to expand radio and television signal coverage across Zimbabwe as part of its support for the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services strategic goals under Vision 2030. Engineer Mshosho said the organization is currently providing FM radio transmission coverage to 81% of the country and aims to increase to 90% by 2026.
So as Transmedia, we are there to support and also give input to the Ministry of Information Performance targets in as far as radio and television coverage is concerned. So in terms of the coverage, we are currently at 81% coverage for the whole country in terms of FM radio transmission, and for 2026 we are targeting to be at 90% for the radio coverage. As you know, radio coverage is the main medium of communication, especially to the rural areas, with 61% of the population getting their information through radio. So we are focusing very much on the coverage for radio, FM radio, expanding that coverage to, by the 10 of 2030, we should be having everyone covered, leaving no one in no place behind.
Now, wildfires are a recurring problem across Zimbabwe, particularly during the dry season. The country has lost over 936,000 hectares of land to wildfires in the 2026 fire season. That's an increase from last year. Now, with the fire season coming to an end, we take a look at the impact these records have on wildlife and what measures are being taken to mitigate the damage.
The fire season may be over, but the aftermath is still burning. Zimbabwe's wildlife and ecosystems are feeling the heat as the country assesses the damage. The fire season, which runs between July to October, is one of the country's most critical environmental management periods due to the extensive damage wildfires cause to forests, to wildlife habitats, pastures, property, and even human life. And even food security may be compromised as the last few years have seen fires burning wheat farms, maize fields, among other valuables. Wildfires have been blamed for the loss of biodiversity, soil fertility decline, underlining the urgent need for prevention. During the 2025 fire season, over 936,000 hectares of land was destroyed by wildfires across Zimbabwe, and that's an increase from 393,183 hectares, which was recorded last year. The Environmental Management Agency, EMA, attributes most of the wildfires to human activities, including hunting and land clearing.
If we look at the current year 2025, since the onset of the wildfire restriction period on the 1st of July, the country has lost over 936,000 hectares of land from over 4,900 fire incidences.
These fires spread rapidly, fueled by strong winds and vegetation.
Wildfires are also a result of climate change. And now if we are to just look at the area, provinces such as Mashonaland West, Mashonaland Central, Mashonaland East, as well as Manicaland. And we also have some pockets or districts such as districts in Matebelele North.
Game parks and conservation areas are particularly vulnerable to wildfires, which also disrupt tourism activities.
Vanhu vakawanda vanoita land preparation kunze kwegame fence kazhinji vanoshandisa moto. Moto uya tinogaidha nekuisa mafire break paperimeter yedu. Saka zvinotibatsira
mademarcation ayo kuti moto hauzonyanyo kuparadza nzvimbo yakakura. Uyezve tine maworkshop atinobatsirwawo neveforestry pamwe chete neveEMA vanouya vachitidzidzisa kana fire season yakutanga.
The consequences of wildfires on wildlife are dire, with many animals losing their homes and food sources.
For wildlife, these fires have a devastating impact. What we see is antelopes and elephants and zebras moving long distances in search of food and shelter after their grazing pastures and their habitats have been destroyed.
But when managed wisely, it supports ecosystems.
So Zimparks, in collaboration with EMA and local communities, we come together to do what is called early controlled burning between May and July, when the moisture is relatively high and the winds are low. What this does is it reduces the fuel load. And what do we mean by this? The old and dry grass that might otherwise exist in the dry months is destroyed to prevent uncontrolled and dangerous fires from occurring. So this is a proactive way of balancing the needs of nature with safety.
As the fire season comes to an end, veld fires may still persist, but with more awareness and more cooperation, everyone can play their part in protecting the country's wildlife. Wadzanai Sansole, ZTN Prime.
You are watching Newsplus. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
Vanoda valisi ziitai aye. Varimi vese itai aye. Vanoda go itai aye. Simuza go rako. Kurumiza. Ndokona kungoti oyo. Vavalisi zipada moyo. Vanyai vana maina na baba. Kurumiza. Mbeu kwayo rikuvalisitsi. Airowe nezvifukuto kana tsikitsi. Kana zvirwere ende nokupa harvest. Apa ndiri kurevesa very honest. Nevalisitsi itai aye. Varimi vese itai aye.
Mwaka uno tenga mbeu yako ku Valley Seeds usimudze goho rako. Valley Seeds vauchiki vembeu yechibage yepana nePioneer, Goros, ma-traditional grains nema-vegetable seeds ose anopa goho repamusoro-soro. Valley Seeds, where farming meets the farmer.
Welcome back. You're still watching Newsplus. Now we talk health matters. The Ministry of Health and Childcare, with support from its partners, is running a free fistula repair camp over the next 2 weeks at Mashoko Christian Hospital, Masvingo Province. The camp is targeting to treat 30 women who have been living with obstetric fistula, a condition caused by prolonged obstructed labor and lack of timely medical attention. In the following report, our correspondent Mirai Singo gives us details on the birth injuries and how the free surgeries are restoring women's dignity.
The 42-year-old mother of one from Chiredzi endured unbearable pain, humiliation due to birth injuries sustained during prolonged labor. Not only did she lose her baby, but she also lost her dignity, and she struggled with continuous urine leakages.
For 25 years, ndichirwara nechirwere ichi chekubudisa mvura ndisingainzwi. Zvakatangira pakupona gore ra 2000.
Obstetric fistula is a wall between the birth canal and the bladder or rectum caused by prolonged obstructed labor without timely access to appropriate health care. It leaves women leaking urine, fecal matter, or both, leading to chronic medical problems. The free repair camps have brought hope and healing to women like Irene, who thought they had no options. Irene endured depression, social isolation, and deepening poverty as a result of the injuries, all common in women with fistula. She is grateful to have been one of the first beneficiaries of the ongoing repair camp, with the surgeries restoring her dignity.
Panyangu ndikanotandara ndiri pana vamwe ndakasununguka uye zvapa chisina munhu achafungidzira kuti he weti inonhuwa. Ndinenge ndava kutofarawo pana vamwe nokuti zvazviti zvine dambudziko guru rokuti chirwere ichi chaisirisa pakuti waitambudzika nayo weti yacho usingaigoni kuikontrola. saka ndinohwa kufara nechirongwa ichi chakazouya chekutibatsirawo mahara pasina mubhadharo.
The Minister of Health and Child Care acknowledged that country had cumulative cases of fistula.
Analyzing our data, when we started the program, we saw mostly historical cases, like a 79-year-old woman who had lived with obstetric fistula for 47 years. And it was those cases who were accumulating and just staying there in the community without accessing help.
Obstetric fistula occurs mostly among young women and girls living in extreme poverty, especially those living far from medical services. Over 1,200 women benefited from the fistula camp since 2015. The Minister of Health and Child Care, however, fears ongoing funding constraints are likely to affect the program.
But now, because of reducing funding mechanisms, we are now also targeting a lower number per quarter. We are targeting now 30 patients per quarter. So I'm happy to say we have been able to achieve our target, and we are holding these repairs on a quarterly basis. So per quarter we target 30 patients, and we do them.
Women and girls with fistula are unable to work, and many are abandoned by husbands and their families. Zimbabwe has been running free fistula repair camps across the country's selected hospitals since 2015. Mashoko Christian Hospitals is among the selected facilities that have been running these free camps. These women have come as far as from South Africa, Chipinge, to have their dignity restored again. Reporting for ZTN Prime, I am Mary Rainsimo from Mashoko Christian Hospital in Bikita.
Now look at news from beyond our borders. In South Africa, say that 17 of its citizens who joined mercenary groups in the Russia-Ukraine war have appealed for help from the Donbas region, where fighting continues. According to government spokesperson Vincent Mangwenya, the men, aged between 20 and 39, were allegedly recruited under false promises of well-paid work. President Cyril Ramaphosa has ordered an investigation into how they were drawn into seemingly mercenary activities. It remains unclear which side of the conflict that they are fighting for. Now, working as a mercenary or fighting on behalf of another government is illegal in South Africa unless the government authorizes it. Israel has confirmed Hamas handed over the remains of deceased Tanzanian hostage Joshua Mulel on Wednesday under the U.S.-brokered Gaza ceasefire deal. Mulel was undertaking an agricultural internship in southern Israel when Hamas-led gunmen launched an attack on the 7th of October 2023. Before handing over Mulel's remains to the Red Cross in Gaza on Wednesday evening, Hamas military wing said that it had recovered a hostage's body in the eastern Shejaiya neighborhood of Gaza City. Now, the Constitutional Council of the Ivory Coast confirmed on Tuesday that incumbent Alassane Ouattara won the first round of the presidential elections on the 25th of October, securing a fourth term in office with an overwhelming majority of the votes. According to the official announcement, President Alassane Ouattara received 89.77% of the vote, surpassing the absolute majority required to win outright. His closest rivals received 3.09% and 2.42% of the total votes. Now, the Constitutional Council stated that it had not received any complaints or appeals within the period set by the law, and that its examination of the vote counting records revealed no irregularities affecting the integrity or outcome of that election.
Considérant que M. Alassane Ouattara a recueilli 3 759 030 voix, réalisant ainsi un score de 89,77%, supérieur à la majorité absolue requise pour être proclamé élu dès le premier tour. Décide. Article 1er. Le scrutin du 25 octobre 2025 est régulier. Article 2. Monsieur Alassane Ouattara est proclamé élu au premier tour président de la République de Côte d'Ivoire.
Over in Nigeria, the Minister of Information has addressed the issue with the United States, explaining that the country's complex internal challenges and the ongoing religious minority reforms. He said Nigeria has a vast, multi-ethnic, multi-religious nation, making significant strides in economic reform and imposing its security architecture. The minister also addressed the recent progress in the government's fight against insurgency targeting religious minorities. Now, this all comes after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to intervene in Nigeria in response to the killing of a record number of Christians following months of accusations by campaigners and politicians that Boko Haram has been targeting Christians.
The cooperation between Nigeria and the United States of America has already resulted in the delivery of a dozen Super Tucano aircraft, which have been of tremendous impact in the anti-insurgency fight, with another dozen AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters in the process of being acquired by the Nigerian Air Force without any fear. So, like other countries do, we have a responsibility to recognize country to be able to practice.
And an update from the typhoon in the Philippines. The death toll has risen to 85, with 75 more missing. 49 of the deaths were in the worst-hit Cebu province, and the search for the missing people from the flooding and landslides is underway. On Tuesday, 6 people died from a military helicopter crash in Agsan del Sur province while on a relief mission to help typhoon victims. And now we give you some business news.
The government of Zimbabwe is proud to host the 5th African Public Procurement Network General Assembly from the 11th to the 14th of November 2025 at the Elephant Hills Resort in Victoria Falls. Under the inspiring theme, Transforming Public Procurement in Africa through Innovation, Inclusion, Sustainability and Regional Collaboration, this event brings together 53 African countries organized into 5 regional networks: North, East, West, Central and Southern Africa. This assembly is more than just a gathering. It's a vital platform where leaders, procurement experts and stakeholders come together to exchange lessons learned and best practices. It's a space to strengthen institutions and systems, to promote innovative solutions to procurement challenges, and to address governance and strategic planning issues across the continent. Join us in shaping the future of public procurement in Africa, where collaboration meets innovation and progress knows no bounds. Together, we are building a stronger, more sustainable Africa.
Welcome wherever you are. And Marmoush, room to shoot! He well and truly did! It's an opportunity, what a shot to Soto! Scott's got to be careful. Bukayo Saka! But it's Salah, and that one delivers!
Never miss a play, home or away. Stream all Premier League games live on Showmax.
Thank you for staying with us. Now we take a look at some business news. Zimbabwe's assumption of the COMESA chairmanship in 2026 is expected to strategically position the country to unlock funding for its construction sector. This was reviewed by the president of the Zimbabwe Builders Contractors Association, Dr. Tinashe Manzungu, in an exclusive interview with ZTN Prime on the sidelines of the 2025 Police Staff College graduation ceremony.
Zimbabwe, as big as we are, we do not have a smooth movement in terms of mortgage lending. However, you would see that we are parties to COMESA Business Council, to COMESA at large. And 2026, we will be gaining the COMESA chairmanship in Zimbabwe. But that be as it may, you will see that COMESA also handles the aspect to say Zimbabwe is one party to it, whilst we are also shareholders to organizations such as Shelter Africa, organizations such as the Africa Development Bank, organizations such as the Trade Development Bank as well. I will boil down to the Trade Development Bank, where it actually has capital to the tune of over $10 billion US. And they are looking for projects that are this kind in nature, low cost housing. So you would see that as we draw to handling or having that position as the chair of COMESA Zimbabwe, we are saying we are looking forward to or engaging also, because I also come from the COMESA Business Council as one of the directors, and that then speaks to what is it that we're supposed to be doing. We are already working on modalities to have also our piece of share in terms of lending.
Now, Dr. Manzungu also highlighted that the new land development policy requires 40% of buildings, especially in metropolitan areas, to be built vertically as land is finite to promote optimum urban space utilization.
We have a new housing policy that was put in by the Minister of Housing, and it speaks to vertical construction. 40% of all developments that we have in the country are now supposed to be going up. Number one. Number two, we are talking of the limited spaces that we continue to have as Zimbabwe, because land does not continue to grow, but we already have number of housing units that are in shortage. We are talking of the 2 million housing units, and we have to clear that deficit. And as you clear that deficit, do not remember to say each year there is a plus in the number of deficit units, housing units. So what it speaks to is continued vertical construction, number one. Number two, continued modernity in terms of model building bylaws, in terms of assimilating or accepting the issues to do with cluster housing models, construction of housing flats, bungalows and all that. That speaks to saving space, at the same time not forgetting the issue to talk of alternative building technologies.
Still in business, Zimbabwe's tobacco exports fell by 7.2% in the first 10 months of 2025 to $921 million from $992.6 million in the same period last year. This driven by a sharp decline in demand in the Far East market. Exports to the Far East, dominated by China, plummeted by 30% to $457 million. That's from $652 million, according to the latest figures from the Tobacco Industry and Marketing Board. The Middle East market also registered a decrease, with exports falling by 14.6%. That's down to $80 million from $93.7 million that was recorded in the year 2024. The Confederation of Zimbabwe Industries says the policy target for an annual ZiG inflation of about 30% is highly achievable amid a downward trend anchored by a negative monthly rate lately and the stable local currency. In its October 2025 inflation and currency developments update, the CZI said it was highly likely that ZiG's month-on-month inflation will remain below 0.5% for the remaining 2 months of the year. As a result, annual inflation is likely to fall into a range of 15% and 20% by December 2025, which would be a huge achievement on the monetary policy front, CZI said. And now for some entertainment news. Now, the 24th edition of the National Arts Merit Awards, NAMA, has officially been announced. It will be held on the 28th of February 2026, and entries are now open for original works created between the 1st of December 2024 and the 30th of November 2025. Entries are open up until the 28th of November. We'll give you more details.
Get ready to shine. The 24th edition of the National Arts Merit Awards, NAMA, is coming. Mark your calendars for February 28th, 2026, as Zimbabwe's artists with the best works published between December 1st, 2024 and November 30th, 2025 will be honored.
For over 2 decades, NAMA has stood as a beacon of excellence, a platform that celebrates, honors and immortalizes the outstanding achievements of our success as well as of our creatives, the artists. It is a moment where, as a country, we say to our artists, we see you, we are happy, we value your work, and we are proud of you.
The 2026 theme celebrates artistic courage, encouraging fearless expression of creativity.
So the theme for the 24th edition of the NAMAs is fearless creativity. We chose the theme and its representation is a lion because in the African jungle, the lion is the most majestic beast, and not just that, it is the boldest animal, and also it is an animal that stands tall and stamps its authority.
With additions of new categories like fashion, among others.
Today at the press conference, we were talking about the new categories, which includes the Digital Arts Awards and the fashion category, which is something new from the previous awards.
To ensure credibility and transparency, the National Arts Council has signed an agreement with a local firm that will audit the process throughout the selection of nominees and winners. The upcoming awards will celebrate the undeniable force of Zimbabwean arts and culture. It will also allow emerging talents and established creatives to celebrate their artistic work in unity and pride. Wadzanai Sansole, ZTM Prime.
And now for some sporting action. We started off with football. Highlanders will this weekend face Mnangagwa Diamonds in the penultimate round of the 2025 PSL season with little margin for error. The Blair Giants need maximum points to secure their survival, but face an equally desperate Mnangagwa Diamonds that is on the same number of points. All matches this weekend will be played simultaneously, with Bosso looking to end a winless run of 6 games and only 4 goals scored in that period. Coach Peter de Jong will have a full squad at his disposal and hopes that the fans at Barberfields will help in their push for victory and ultimately survival.
This time on Saturday afternoon, that is new because we play normal on Sunday. Of course, the reason is that the last 2 games needed to play at the same time. This week, everyone is available. Because we have no injuries. We have a half injury. Players not suspended. The training this week, we did everyday activity. 2 times this week we did aerobics, and we did it this time also 2 times on the pitch. Tomorrow we train with 20 players. The players will also go in camp. And the other players who are not selected train in the gym. Yeah, and Saturday is the game. I hope and ask everyone who love Bosso, and there are a lot of people in Zimbabwe, love Bosso, come to the stadium, come to BF, because we needed a big support.
As the 2025 Northern Region Soccer League season enters its decisive stage, Log leaders Ngombeyaora are determined to give their all in pursuit of the lone promotion spot. For head coach Nesbeth Saruchera, history is within reach. Should his team secure promotion, he will become one of the few coaches to have guided 4 different clubs to the top flight.
With only 1 round left before the curtain comes down on the 2025 Northern Region Division 1 soccer season, Log leaders Ngombeyaora head coach Nesbeth Saruchera is confident that his charges are focused ahead of their trip to Norton, where a tricky encounter against most under-19 awaits them.
I think the boys are ready. We are waiting for that big game. We need to make sure we collect the 3 so that we are crowned champion. But I think we are ready. The guys are very focused at the moment. They know what they are really playing for, so they make our job easier. Like I said before, Northern Region is one of the toughest leagues out of the 4, so it's not going to be easy. But like I said, we came a long way. We need to go in there and treat as if you are playing a cup final and make sure we collect 3 points and move on.
Saruchera expressed confidence in his team's concentration ahead of their crucial away match, praising the senior players for their leadership and the role they've played in helping the younger teammates adapt and excel.
It's like, if I can take you backwards a bit, this team was formed in March, and we managed to assemble a very good squad at the moment. So I'm happy with the progress. We live in gelling the young boys and the seniors so that we want to strengthen the spinal cord. Like I said, the spinal cord must be very, very strong.
Saruchera is on course of becoming the second coach to get 4 different clubs to top flight football, but he has kept his feet on the ground as he does not want to put his charges under pressure.
Normally I don't play for personal records. What I want is maybe Mumbai Aura to get promoted to the next level. That's what I'm worried at the moment. As coaches, we do not put the boys under pressure. We just maybe remind them how important the fixture is. But they know they've matured. They've played some of them at the highest level. They can't be afraid of those games.
Through humility and firm guidance, Saruchere has steered Mumbai to the brink of success. His ability to inspire confidence or maintaining composure shows a leader committed to collective growth as much as to victory. Reporting for ZTN Prime, I am Tawanda Muntali.
Now let's talk rugby. The 2025 edition of the Zambezi Sevens rugby tournament gets underway this weekend in the capital, with Zimbabwe battling it out with Zambia as well as Kenya. We are joined by rugby analyst Ruvimbo Chakoreka to give us more on the tournament. Rimbo, good evening and thank you so much for joining us. What is it that rugby enthusiasts should expect in this year's edition of the Zambezi Sevens rugby tournament?
Well, I think this year's edition should be a pretty good one. I think the addition of the Kenyan Morans will definitely help. And quite surprisingly, I was actually looking at the team sheet for the Kenyan Morans. It's mainly their developmental sevens, which then looks to press into the Kenyan Shujas. Now, we know that the Kenyan Shujas are the sevens team for Kenya. And an interesting addition is Daniel Kepcheshe. Now, Daniel Kepcheshe was part of the under-20 squad, which beat Zimbabwe in the Butters Trophy. And so he's already now being blooded in. He's a very powerful runner, quite strong, and considering that he's a young player, clearly Kenya are also looking towards the future. But also they've got some experienced players that are coming in there for the Kenyan Morans, so that will also be very good as a test for our cheetahs. In terms of Zambia are also bringing in a bit more of a developmental squad as well, so not looking as powerful as they would usually do going into the competition. And then, of course, the inclusion of the local clubs and putting them into regions. We know Matabeleland is coming in as a province. We know Manicaland is also coming through as a province. I think Mutare Sports Club is also going to bring in its own club. Harare Sports Club, Pitbulls, all Georgians there and thereabouts. So that is going to be very good in terms of the kind of competition that will be available there. But I'm very, very interested to see what is going to happen on the women's side, because on the women's side, we have 4 teams that have been put together that are going to try and compete for a jersey and ultimately the ticket to go and represent us at the Rugby Africa Women's Sevens tournament, which will be held in Nairobi. So that is something that we are also going to be looking forward to see who is going to shine in those 4 sides and ultimately then complete what will be the Lady Cheetah side.
Well, Rumbo, thank you so much for your analysis and for joining us. That's Rumbo Chakoreka with the Zimbabwe Sports Hub as we talked rugby. And with that, we call it an evening. You were watching Newsplus. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Faith Nyaude. Good evening and enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Harare, tune into the beat.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, your source for news, business, sports, fashion, and more.
Experience the pulse of Harare's culture and lifestyle.
Capitalk 100.4 FM.